This is the history of the Ernest M. and Mabel P. Skinner family. Here is the story of Etta Mae Morgan. Chapter 4, pages 20 through 26.
Carl, my second son, and his wife were called to go on a mission to the Central States. Brother Samuel Otis Benyon was the mission president. Their two children, Carl Wilson and Helen Venus, accompanied them on their 2-year mission. Portia, my oldest daughter, graduated from Fielding High School in Paris and spent a year at the McCune School of Music in Salt Lake City and did very fine work. She decided to be married and go east with her husband, Louis William Budge, to dental school in Chicago for 4 years. A son, Ezra Lloyd, was born in August, and another son, Merrill Skinner, was born less than a year later. She has nice children. Her husband graduated and located in Ogden, where he is a very efficient dentist. Portia sings beautifully, too. Ralph, another son, was called to go on a mission to New Zealand and spent 3 years there and did very good work. On returning, he married Opal B. of Georgetown, and they now have 9 children, 6 boys and 3 girls. They have 1 pair of twin boys. My son Halver graduated from Fielding High School at Paris and went on a mission to Canada for 2 years. When he came home, he enrolled at Utah State Agricultural College at Logan, where he met and married Violet Steffenhagen. He had a hard row to hoe, working his way through school without financial assistance. They had 2 children, Janine and Colin, before he graduated with a degree in mechanical arts and education and began teaching at Garland High School, where he is still teaching. Elda, my second girl, finished high school and did her college work at Weber College. She is a beautiful singer and very fine in dramatics. She took up teaching as a profession and was one of the best teachers in the state. She married Alvin G. Carlson of Logan. They moved to Preston to take over the furniture store when Al's brother Carl, who had been managing the store, died. Ernest, my baby boy, started at Georgetown High School but finished at Grace High School. His sister Elda was teaching there, and he lived with her while finishing high school. He went to Utah State Agricultural College in Logan and began his course in vocational agriculture and did well. He, too, had to work hard to support his family while attending college without financial assistance. My husband had been bishop in the Noonan Ward for 15 years and did a great work among the people. Time passed, and a new chapel was to be built. The location was chosen by 2 church leaders from Salt Lake. They spent 2 or 3 days looking at places that were suggested. They finally made their decision. The new ward chapel was to be located in the center of Noonan Valley, where the majority of the people lived. When this decision was made, the people in the south end of the valley withdrew from the ward and established a branch 5 miles or less from the place chosen. Their withdrawal caused much trouble and controversy. It was hard to build a new chapel in a small ward, but when it was sorely opposed by one half of the people, it was an even more difficult task. But the bishop continued his work and was greatly blessed, and in less than a year, the building was completed. He requested permission of the stake leaders to have a meeting with the members of the valley who had withdrawn and formed their own branch. He invited them to come together and enjoy the blessings of the restored gospel in the new Noonan Ward Chapel. Bishop Skinner was able to bring unity to Noonan Valley. A new experience came into my life. War was on and no teachers could be hired. The superintendent of schools came to my home and asked me to come and help by accepting the primary school. I felt that I was not equal to that. It had been 20 years since I had done any teaching, and I had not studied in that time. I had 8 children and a lot of hired help to wait on, and my baby was just 2 years old. My husband wanted me to try to help. I consented and taught on a permit for 2 years. I was the happiest girl in the world. I loved children and loved the teaching profession. I was principal of the religion classwork, too, and enjoyed it very much. I was greatly blessed at home, at school, and with all my undertakings as well. When school closed, we had gone through a bad winter. The hay was all gone, and there was no grain, and we had to have hay shipped in from Nebraska for 2 months' feed, which cost us $5,000. I told the county superintendent, "I taught for you last winter, and now I need to teach this winter to help my husband." He was happy to be of assistance to us. I had to go to summer school at Pocatello and got my 3rd grade certificate. I enjoyed my new field of work, and I felt good with everything so fresh and new. I had a daughter in high school. She came home when her school was out. I turned the home over to her, ordered the groceries, and she did all the work. I was gone 9 weeks and received my second grade certificate. I was hired to be principal, which placed much responsibility upon me. I had an 8th grade of large boys and girls and 3 other grades besides. We went to work with great determination to accomplish a lot of work, and we did it too. Another year closed. I attended summer school again and was the principal of the school again that year, but had no 8th grade to teach that time. I enjoyed my work very much. I then went to school again and got my 1st grade certificate. The school year came again, and I went into primary work again since I was needed there. I had hired a girl at home, and the children were all in school except the baby. I had hired a girl at home, and the children were all in school except the baby. I went to summer school again and received my life certificate. I still hold this certificate. Obtaining that certificate was one of my hobbies. I taught primary again this year. Mr. Nielsen was principal, and we sure had a grand school year. Mr. Nielsen put on a musical for his room, and I helped with my children. It was a grand program put on by such young children. I had my children ready for high school, so I moved to Paris, taking 5 of the children with me. 4 were in high school, and Ernest in 6th grade. I went to Paris for 2 years. I began a new epoch in my life as I took care of my children. It was my genealogical life. I began doing that work and never rested from that work again. I obtained a history of my mother's people, the Stockton family of New Jersey, which consisted of 2,000 names. I had baptisms done for all of them that winter. And for the next 25 years, I did research on this and other lines. I still had some more school responsibility, and that was with Ernest, my baby boy. I had been at his side ever since he began his high school. He attended Georgetown High School for 2 years and did very fine work there. He also took music lessons. We were having very hard times at the ranch. Daddy took sheep and fed them. Ernest and I were home alone. Hard were the trials we meet in life, but these make us more true to life's call. Elda was teaching in Grace and a most wonderful teacher. She developed to become the leader in the county, and the superintendent said he had never seen her equal for originality. She spent 2 years in Grace and made many fine friends. Elda proved herself to be a grand vocal teacher. The musical students who performed for the public were indeed surprising. She has continued her musical work ever since. She attended the Utah State Agricultural College for 2 years. Ernest and I were with her. I was now preparing her trousseau. She had decided to be married when school was out to Alvin G. Carlson, the secretary of the Utah Mortgage and Loan Company. Elda and Al were married August 5th, 1935, the same day as Halver and Violet's wedding day in 1931. Violet went through the temple with them. They were called to Preston soon after that to manage the store that I previously mentioned. Al did not take to his work, and he has been sick a lot. He is troubled with goiter and had an operation for that, but the operation was not a success. The growth was removed, but it has come back worse than before he had the operation. He is putting forth a great fight and may still win the battle. Ernest graduated from Grace High School and did some very fine work in dramatics that year. He stayed with Mrs. Selma Olson, and she was a real mother to him. I was so happy about this, for I had never let him leave me before. He accomplished so much during his school year, and he had to work his way through school as his brother Halver did. My dear boy Ernest was called on a mission to the eastern states under President Don B. Colton. He attended the missionary training school for 3 weeks in Salt Lake City, which was under the direction of President J. Wiley Sessions and his wife. I had the privilege of accompanying Ernest and his daddy to enter his school. At this place, we met so many young folks, and all were preparing their minds for the greatest work anyone can do, teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ to the people of the world. He enjoyed going through the temple and filled his heart with the desire to be married in this holy place. Nephi and I had the great pleasure of seeing Ernest off on the train. This is the first time I had the pleasure of seeing any of my children off on their various journeys. This was a long wished-for event that came to me in the latter part of my life. I sat and listened to Elder John A. Widsoe and Ernest's father set him apart and give him the grandest blessing to accompany him on his mission if he lived worthy. We spent the whole day visiting with the elders going into the mission field. There were 86 in all. Ernest left the 15th day of October in 1936. It has been nearly 2 years since I wrote in my diary. Ernest has been gone 1 year and 3 months. He is doing a fine work there. He labored in Wilmington, Delaware for 8 months, then was transferred to Auburn, New York to be a member of the Auburn Missionary Quartet, in which he sang first tenor. These elders did a lot of traveling over the states, and singing everywhere, an opportunity presented itself. While Ernest served his mission, he met a young lady he admired very much from Mesa, Arizona, Mabel Peterson. She was released before Ernest. When he was released, he came home through Arizona and spent 2 weeks with Mabel's family. Her mother and father seemed to be satisfied with Ernest, as she had chosen him as her future companion and helpmate. Upon returning home, Ernest helped his father. Not long after his return, Mabel's father, Charles Peterson, died, which brought much sorrow. Ernest was indeed grateful that he had had the opportunity to spend 2 weeks at their home, becoming acquainted with her father. Ernest attended winter quarter at USAC, staying with Mrs. Carl Steffenhagen, Violet's mother, a most lovable and dear mother. On returning home, Ernest was so enthused about being married in May, he rushed through his spring work. Lester, his brother, had a new Pontiac car, and he let Ernest take it on his wedding trip, and of all the happy boys, he was one. They were married in the Mesa Temple, May 29, 1939, and all Mabel's relatives attended the sealing. My son Clausen, a doctor of dentistry in Los Angeles, California, has become nationally known for his excellent work. He has been asked to put on exhibitions of his work at many dental conventions. He recently spent a week in Denver, where he made a splendid record. He spent a week in Boise, Idaho in July 1942. He put on a clinic there and did some fine work and gave many demonstrations. Halver is a very fine teacher and is still at Box Elder High School in Tree Mountain. In 1937, his vocational agriculture students won 7 first prizes at the State Fair in Salt Lake City. Ralph has moved to Smithfield, Utah, where better quality schools are accessible for his children, 6 boys and 3 girls. They are among the grandest families to be found any place. He is an accomplished blacksmith and welder, and few can compete with him. He works for the Del Monte Foods canning factory and is a very able man who can do almost any kind of mechanical work. Portia, my oldest daughter, is continuing with her music under Professor Mark Robinson. She is one of the soloists in the Ogden Choir. She has a very rich and highly developed voice. The saddest experience that has happened, nor ever crossed my life, happened on May 19, 1941. Our dear and beloved husband and father passed away so unexpectedly. He was sick for only 4 weeks. We took him to the William Budge Memorial Hospital in Logan for 2 weeks. They could not find the cause of the trouble. They took him to his son Ernest's home, and I went down and took care of him there for a few days. Dr. Joseph William Hayward ordered him to be taken home. He was very happy to get home, but he never regained his strength again, and in a little over a week, he just closed his eyes. His head was lying on my shoulder. He just trembled and was gone. He's now sleeping the most beautiful sleep one can enjoy. Nephi had 6 sons who were his pallbearers. They loved and adored their father very much, as he had set them a wonderful example. Flowers for his funeral were the most beautiful ever seen around here. Ernest, our youngest son, received his degree from the Utah State Agricultural College on May 31st, 1941, an event we had all looked forward to for 4 years. We were all sorry that his dear daddy could not live to witness this great event. He was soon ready to accept a position as a vocational agriculture teacher. He had earned recognition for being one of the best-trained agriculture students at the college.